The sky above planet Tryon was always gray. Dust storms moved like ghosts across the land, hiding broken machines and lost hopes under layers of sand. No one stayed too long on Tryon. It was a forgotten place, used by traders, pirates, and scavengers, who came and went like wind. Tom was a scavenger. He wasn't special. He had no crew, no advanced ship, just an old crawler with rusted wheels and a strong engine. He spent his days searching through wrecks, looking for anything valuable at tech. Weapons, power cells, sense thing that would sell back at the hub station. That day, the wind was quieter than usual.
Ow.
Tom drove across a dry valley near the old mines when his crawler's sensor beeped. Life form detected. Tom frowned. Life here. He stopped the crawler and stepped out. His boots crunched the dry sand as he moved toward a small, rocky outcrop. He walked carefully, hand near his sidearm. On Tryon, life usually meant danger, but what he found wasn't dangerous at all. It was a girl. She was small, with thin arms and legs. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes were too big for her face. She wasn't human. Her clothes were torn, and her feet were bare and bleeding. She looked up at him with wide, scared eyes. Tom took a slow step forward. "Hey," he said gently. "Are you hurt?" The girl didn't answer. She just stared. A metal collar was around her neck, blinking with a red light. She looked no older than 12. Tom lowered his weapon and knelt beside her. "It's okay," he said. "I won't hurt you." Still, she said nothing. She shivered in the wind. Tom sighed. "Right. I guess you're coming with me." He took off his jacket and wrapped it around her. Then he picked her up. She was light. It's too light. Carried her back to his crawler. Inside the crawler, Tom gave her water. She drank slowly, like someone who hadn't had anything for days. He gave her some food, 2 protein bars. Nothing fancy. She ate without looking at him, but she didn't run. Tom tapped the collar around her neck. Slave tech. Old model. He tried to disable it, but it had a security code he didn't know. One wrong move, and it might shock her. Or worse. He stared at her again. "Who left you here?" Still no answer. Tom leaned back in his chair, watching her quietly. The crawler rumbled beneath them, heading back toward his base. 2 hours later, he reached his hideout, an old bunker hidden under a hill, parked the crawler and carried her inside. The bunker wasn't much. A bed, some tools, boxes of scrap, and a small heater. But it was safe. He laid her on the bed and placed a blanket over her. "I don't know if you understand me," he said, sitting down nearby, "but I'll keep you safe. For now." For the first time, she spoke. Just one word. "Why?" Tom looked at her. Her voice was soft and cracked. He smiled a little. "Because someone should." Over the next 2 days, she didn't speak again, but she watched him. He worked on a small drone in the corner, keeping the place warm and quiet. He didn't ask questions. He didn't force her to talk. He just let her rest. On the 3rd day, she finally stood up. Tom was fixing wires when he heard soft steps behind him. He turned. The girl pointed to herself and said, "Nira." Tom blinked. "That's your name?" She nodded. He smiled. "Nice to meet you, Nira. I'm Tom." Later that evening, Tom tried to scan the collar again. It was military tech, not made on Tryon. That meant someone brought her here, probably a trader or mercenary. Someone who didn't care enough to take her. Back. Tom frowned. "You were abandoned." Nira looked down, silent. "You're not a slave anymore," he said. "Not while you're with me." She looked up. Her eyes were wet, but she didn't cry. She just nodded slowly. 3 days passed. Nira began to speak more short words, small sentences. She asked about tools, about machines. Tom showed her how. To use a wrench, how to check a battery cell. She was smart, faster than he expected, but at night she still woke up screaming. Tom would rush to her bedside. She'd sit up, shaking, whispering something in her language. He didn't understand the words, but he understood the fear. "It's okay," he would say. "You're safe." One night, she clutched his arm and said, "They're coming." "Who?" She didn't answer, but the look in her eyes was clear. Something was hunting her. Tom checked his sensors the next day. No signs of ships in orbit, but he trusted her warning. He began packing essentials, just in case. Tools, rations, spare parts. If someone came looking, he'd be ready. But deep inside, he knew one thing. He wouldn't abandon her. Everyone else had, but not him. The sun on planet Tryon was not warm. It was small and pale, like a dying candle in the sky. But it gave enough light for Tom to fix his solar panels. He worked slowly, eyes half on the sky and half on his tools. Inside the bunker, Nira sat near the heater. She held a metal plate in her lap and was drawing again, this time a starship. It looked like a hunter ship, fast and dark. It had sharp wings and a strange mark on its side. Tom came inside and looked at her drawing. "You've seen this ship before?" he asked. Nira nodded. "They come when it's dark." Tom knelt down. "Who are they?" She pointed to the drawing. "Bad ones. Took many like me." Tom looked closely at the ship mark. It was a red circle with a black line through it. He didn't recognize it, but it gave him a chill. "They hurt you?" She looked away. Her silence was the answer. Tom stood up and walked to his table. He turned on his old radio scanner. The screen blinked once. No signals. Then again a soft ping. Tom's heart beat faster. Unregistered ship detected in orbit. That night, the sky turned darker than usual. The stars were gone, hidden behind thick clouds. Tom stood on the bunker roof, holding his small scope. He looked up and saw a shape black, fast and moving without lights. A ship, just like Nira had drawn. He ran back inside. "They're here," he said. Nira froze. Her hands shook. "Do they know you're here?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "They always know." Tom grabbed his bag and started checking for extra food. "Battery cells, 2 stun rods and a jammer. We might have to run," he said. Nira whispered. "They take only the young ones, the weak." Tom looked at her. "They won't take you." Shh. Stared at him, her voice low. "They always do." He walked over and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Not this time." The next day Tom worked fast. He rechecked his crawler. He installed a cloaking panel over the bunker roof. It wasn't perfect, but it could hide heat signals for a short time. Nira helped too. She followed his instructions, carried tools, and double-checked wires. She worked quietly, but quickly. "Did you build things before?" Tom asked. "In the ship," she said. "I fixed small parts. If we made mistakes, they punished us." Tom clenched his jaw. He didn't like hearing that. "Not anymore," he said. "Here, you learn without fear." She gave him a small nod. That night, the sound came. A deep hum like thunder in the sky. Tom looked through the scope. The black ship had landed far out in the valley, too far to see clearly, but close enough to worry. "They'll search on foot," Tom said. "They don't rush. They want fear to grow first." He turned on the jammer. It would block signals from the bunker for a short time. "Nira," he said, "you have to be ready." "I am," she whispered. The next morning, tracks appeared. In the sand, heavy boots. 3 of them. Walking toward the hill, Tom watched from a small hole in the wall. "They're coming." Nira stood beside him. She held a small stun rod, her hands tight around the grip. "You don't have to fight," Tom said. She shook her head. "I'm not running again." Minutes later, the door shook. Boom, boom. A heavy hit. Tom waited, heart pounding. The metal door held, but not for long, then dashed silence. Tom looked through the hole again. Nothing. He waited. 1 minute. 2. Still nothing. Then a sound behind them. A vent popped open. Tom turned fast, but it was too late. One of them was already inside, tall, black. Armor. Red visor. Silent Tom jumped in front of Nira. The man raised a stun rifle. Tom hit a switch flashbang. A white light exploded in the room. The attacker screamed, dropping the rifle. Nira threw her stun rod, hit his arm. Sparks flew. Tom tackled him. They rolled across the floor. The man hit hard, but Tom was faster. He grabbed the rifle and shocked him once. Twice the man fell. Tom breathed hard. That was close. Nira looked at the open vent. More will come. Tom nodded. We can't stay. They packed fast. Only what they needed. Tools, food, water, power cells. Tom checked the map. There's an old cave system in the west. Deep tunnels. Hard to track heat. We go there. Nira looked one last time at the bunker. This place felt safe. Tom placed a hand on her shoulder. We'll make the next place safe too. They drove through the dust crawler engine. Roaring. The sky above them was empty. But they knew eyes were watching. Nira sat beside Tom, holding the rifle tight. She didn't speak, but her face was stronger now. Tom looked at her. Most people would have left her. Too much trouble. It's too much risk. But he didn't. She was more than a job. It's more than a scared alien girl. She was someone worth protecting. Behind them, the black ship rose into the air. The hunt wasn't over, but now they were ready. Together. The crawler rumbled over dry rocks and through thick dust as the sun dipped below the horizon.
Oh.
Tom kept both hands on the wheel, eyes sharp. Nira sat quietly beside him, holding the stun rifle across her lap. They had been driving for hours. The dark shape of the enemy ship was far behind them now, but Tom knew it wouldn't stop chasing. They have better sensors than us, he said. But the caves should block them. Nira pointed to the map on the screen. Caves here. Tom nodded. Old mining tunnels. Before the planet was abandoned, workers made deep paths underground. Steel walls, thick rock, hard to scan through. Nira didn't reply, but Tom saw the tension in her hands. She wasn't afraid like before. She was ready. By nightfall, they reached a canyon. Jagged rocks rose around them like broken teeth. Tom stopped the crawler near a metal door set into the canyon wall. Most wouldn't notice it, but he knew what to look for. This is it, he said. Nira stepped out and looked around. The wind was sharp here, but the air smelled cleaner. Tom entered a code on the door panel. It blinked red, then green. The door creaked open, slow and loud. Inside was darkness. Tom turned on his wrist light. The beam showed a long hallway made of old steel. Rusty pipes lined the walls. Dust covered the ground. No one's been here for years, Tom said. They stepped inside. The door shut behind them with a heavy clang. The tunnels were cold, but safe. Tom checked the map from a broken terminal. The system had many paths. Some led deep underground, others to old storage rooms and broken lifts. We'll stay in them. Lower levels, he said. Less chance of being found. They picked a small room deep in the tunnels. It had old bunks, a working light, and a vent that brought in fresh air. Tom placed a motion sensor at the entrance, then sat down. Nira sat across from him, her back to the wall. She looked tired. Do you want to rest? He asked. She shook her head. I dreamed of tunnels like this once. Tom looked at her. In my dream, she continued, I was alone. But now I'm not. Tom smiled softly. You won't be alone again, I promise. In the morning, Tom explored the nearby tunnels. He checked power lines, old machines, and possible escape paths. Nira stayed in the room, but she didn't waste time. She fixed an old light, organized supplies, and cleaned the floor. When Tom returned, he looked around. You've been busy. She nodded. I want this place to feel safe. It already does, he said. That evening, they sat beside a warm light. Tom opened a small can of food and handed her half. Back at the bunker, he said, you said they only take the young? Yes, she whispered. They take us, train us, make us work. Some are used for other things. Some disappear. Tom stared at the can in his hand. Why? Nira looked down. Because they believe we are not real people, just tools. Tom didn't speak for a moment. Then he said firmly, they're wrong. She looked at him, surprised. You think? You feel? You build? You care? Tom said. That's more than many people I've met. Nira's eyes were soft. Thank you. Tom nodded. You're not a tool. You're Nira. That's enough. But peace didn't last. 3 days later, the motion sensor beeped. Tom checked the screen. Movement near entrance. Only one. He said, but might be more behind. Nira stood quickly. I'll help. No, Tom said. Stay back. I'll handle this. He stepped into the hallway, holding the rifle. The footsteps were slow, careful. Then a voice came from the shadows. I don't want to fight. Tom paused. A man stepped forward, tall, thin, wearing a brown cloak. His face was pale, eyes dark and tired. I'm not one of them, the man said. I escaped. Tom didn't lower the rifle. You followed us? No, the man said. I tracked the hunters. I've been hiding too. When I saw them searching near the canyon, I guessed someone else had escaped. Tom studied him. The man raised his hands. My name is Duran. I was once a guard on their ship, but I helped some of the young ones run. They found out. I ran too. Tom lowered the rifle a little. Can I come in? Darren asked. Tom looked back at the room. Then he nodded slowly. Darren sat with them, drinking water. He told them stories how the hunters gathered young aliens from weak worlds, how they used them for labor, training, and experiments. He showed scars on his arms. They trust no one. He said, they don't forgive betrayal. Do they know we're here? Tom asked. Not yet, Duran said, but they're close. They never give up. Tom looked at Nira. We need to move again, no, Duran said. There is a better way. He placed a small chip on the table. This is their ship code, he said. I stole it before I ran. With this, we can stop them, or send a signal to bring help. Tom stared at it. You kept this all this time? I waited for the right? People, Duran said. I think I found them. Nira looked at Tom. What do we do? Tom picked up the chip and stood. We fight. The old cave was quiet, but inside, the air was full of tension. Tom stared at the chip Duran had placed on the table. It was small, dark silver, and looked almost like a coin. But Tom knew better. It wasn't just a chip. It was a key. A ship. Code? Tom repeated. You're sure? Darren nodded. Yes. With this, you can access their command system. You can send false messages, jam their signals, or even call for help from nearby stations. Tom looked at Nira. Her eyes were wide, her fingers gripping the edge of the table. They won't stop, she said quietly. If we don't stop them first, they'll take others. Tom picked up the chip. Then we stopped them. The plan was dangerous. Tom and Duran would go to an old tower signal relay station built by miners long ago. If it still worked, they could use the chip to send a false emergency code. It would trick the hunters into moving their ship or calling it back. That might give them time to escape, or even lead the hunters into a trap. Nira wanted to go to, but Tom shook his head. It's safer if you stay here, he said. But I can help, she argued. You already helped, he said. You survived. That gave us a reason to fight. She lowered her eyes but nodded. Tom handed her the stun rifle. Stay hidden. Watch the sensors. If we don't come back in 2 hours, run. Tom and Duran moved through the tunnels, then climbed out through an old vent near the backside of the canyon. They walked under the gray sky, heads low. The wind carried dust and heat, but no sign of ships. The relay tower stood far on the edge of the hills. It was tall, broken, and leaning slightly to one side but still standing. Duran looked up. It powers on. We're lucky. We'll make it work, Tom said. Inside the tower, the metal stairs groaned under their weight. Tom climbed first, rifle ready. At the top was a small control room, covered in dust. Old screens blinked faintly. Power was weak. But a live Tom opened the control panel and inserted the chip. A soft beep, code accepted. Darren leaned over. Try the message system. Set it to repeat every 5 minutes. Tom typed quickly. Distress call code 119. Ship breach. Return to base immediately. He pressed send. The tower began to hum. The signal was live. Back in the cave, Nira sat alone. Her eyes never left the motion sensor screen. At first, all was calm, then dash beep, movement detected. 2 signals. Her heart raced. She picked up the stun rifle and stepped to the corner. Her hands were steady. Please be them, she whispered then. The camera showed their faces. Tom and Duran. She ran to the door and opened it. You're back, she said. Tom stepped in, smiling. Signal sent. The ship should respond soon. Darren checked his watch. If they believe the message, they'll leave the ground in 1 hour. We moved before that. But the hunters were not fools. 30 minutes later, a dark shadow passed over the canyon. Tom grabbed his scope. That's their ship. They're lifting off. They took the bait, Darren said. Good, Tom turned to Nira. We go now. They've left the ground, but their men may still be nearby. Nira grabbed her bag. Let's go. They packed quickly. Food, water, tools. Tom turned off the motion sensors and covered the doorway with scrap metal. We'll leave no trace, he said. They stepped into the tunnels, moving fast and quiet, but then a sound. Clink, clink, a soft tap of metal boots. Tom raised his hand. Everyone froze. The sound grew louder. Back, Tom whispered. They ran into a side tunnel just as 3 figures appeared in the main hallway. All wore black armor, red visors, hunters. Tom raised his rifle but didn't shoot. He waited. Darren pulled out a small light bomb from his coat. Ready? Darren whispered. Tom nodded. Now Duran tossed the light bomb. It flashed bright. Tom fired 2 shots. 1 hunter dropped. The others stumbled, blinded. Nira stepped out, aimed, and fired. The blast hit the second one in the chest. He fell with a grunt. The last one turned to run, but Tom caught him with a stun dart. Silenced, Tom panted. Is everyone okay? Fine, Nira said. Darren nodded. They won't stay down long. Tom looked around. We can't go back. We head deeper into the tunnels. There's another exit 2 miles down. They moved fast. The path twisted, but Darren knew the way. Lights flickered above them. Rust and dust fell with each step. Nira kept her eyes sharp, her rifle ready. Suddenly the wall shook. Boom. A loud sound came from behind them. They're blowing a way through, Tom said. They know where we're going. Duran checked the map. There's a narrow shaft ahead. If we collapse it behind us, it'll slow them down. They reached the shaft. Tom set a small charge and helped Nira across. Once they were safe, he pressed the button. Boom. Rocks fell, sealing the tunnel. For now, at last, they reached the second exit. It led to an open ridge on the far side of the canyon. The sun was rising. Tom looked back at the hills. We made it. Nira stood beside him. She was tired, dirty, but stronger than ever. They'll come again, she said. Double quotes, yes, Tom replied. But we're ready. Darren smiled. And now we have the key. He held up the chip. The sun rose slowly over the rocky hills of Tryon. The sky was no longer dark, but the danger was far from over. Tom, Nira, and Darren stood on the edge of the ridge, catching their breath. Behind them, the tunnels were quiet now, yet they all knew the hunters would return. Tom looked at the signal device Duran had given him. That chipped. You said it could do more than send a fake message. Yes, Duran replied, wiping dust from his face. We can do one more thing. We can shut their systems down if we get close enough to their ship. Nira looked up. We go to the ship? Tom looked at her. It's dangerous, I know, she said. But it will end this. Tom nodded slowly. Then we do it. We'll finish this. They walked carefully across the canyon side, staying low behind rocks and ridges. The enemy ship had moved to a new landing spot in the east. It was Biglong, black wings, thick armor, and guards watching the area. The hunters were busy. They hadn't found the group's new location yet. but they were angry. And alert? We'll need a distraction, Tom said, crouching behind a hill. Something to draw them out. I have an idea, Nira said. She pointed to a nearby broken mining tower. If we start a fire there, they'll come to check. Smiled, smart. Tom checked the wind. All right, we'll plant a fire trap in the tower. When they go to check, we sneak to the ship. Tom and Darren moved to the tower first. They placed fuel cells inside and wired them to a small remote. Switch. Nira stayed back, keeping watch through a scope. After 20 minutes, they returned to the hiding spot. Tom looked at Nira. Ready? She nodded. Let's begin. Tom pressed the button. Boom. Fireball lit up the broken tower. Black smoke rose high into the sky. Moments later, 2 hunters rushed out of the ship and ran toward the smoke. Tom stood. Now's our chance. They ran fast across the dry ground, moving from one rock to another. The remaining guards at the ship were fewer now. One was at the front. Another stood near the ramp. Tom took out his stun rifle. I'll take the one at the ramp. Darren, the one near the front. What about me? Nira asked. Tom looked at her. Stay behind us. Once we're inside, help me find the control panel. They nodded. Tom counted down. 3, 2, 1, go. The attack was quick. Tom fired. His shot hit the guard on the ramp. The hunter dropped with a cry. Duran ran forward and hit the other with a shock dart. The man fell to the ground. Twitching, they reached the ramp. Tom turned to Nira. Come. They rushed inside the ship. The hallway was dark and narrow. Red lights blinked from the walls. They passed small rooms with empty cages, tools, and wires. Nira stared at the walls. I remember this place. Tom didn't stop. Where's the control room? She pointed. Upstairs, behind the center door. They climbed the metal stairs. The control room door was heavy, but not locked. Inside were 3 chairs, a large screen, and a panel full of glowing buttons. Darren pulled out the chip. Cover me. Tom and Nira stood by the door while Duran placed the chip into the main panel. The screen blinked. Code accepted. System access granted. Good, Duran said. Now I just need to shut down the ship's engines and weapons. Suddenly, a loud alarm rang. Beep, beep, beep. Someone triggered the alert. Tom shouted. They know we're here. Footsteps echoed below. By me time, Darren yelled. Tom and Nira ran to the stairs. 2 hunters were rushing up. Tom fired fast hit. 1. The other raised a gun. Nira jumped forward and shocked him with her stun rod. They fell back. Nira's arm was cut by the hunter's sharp armor. Tom pulled her back into the control room. You okay? She nodded, holding her arm. Just a scratch. Inside? Darren shouted. Done. Engines offline. Weapons offline. Sending emergency beacon now? The ship shook. What was that? Nira asked. Darren looked worried. They tried to reboot the ship. We need to leave now. They ran down the stairs. More footsteps came from behind. Tom fired one more shot. Forcing the hunters to stay back, they reached the exit. Outside, the smoke was still thick from the earlier fire. The 2 guards from the tower were running back. We go around the side, Tom said. Fast. They ran behind the ship. Tom led them through the rocks and dry bushes until they were far enough. Then they stopped and turned around. The hunter ship began to shake. Suddenly dash. Boom. Its engine sparked. Smoke rose. The lights inside the ship turned off. The emergency beacon began to blink from its roof. Nira stared in silence. They can't chase us now, Tom said. Will someone come? She asked. Yes, Darren answered. That beacon will bring others. Real protectors. The kind who punish people like them. They returned to the ridge by sunset. Tom cleaned Nira's wound and wrapped her arm. You were brave today. You believed in me, she said softly. He smiled. I still do. Darren sat beside them, watching the sky. Soon a ship will come. And this place will change. Will they take me? Nira asked. Tom looked at her. Only if you want to go. Phew. Thought for a moment, then said, I want to stay. I want to help others. Like you helped me. Tom's eyes softened. Then we stay. And we help. The stars above began to shine. Somewhere far away, a signal was traveling through, space calling help, bringing justice, and below, on a quiet hill, a human, an alien girl, and a former. Enemies sat together. They had started as strangers. Now they were something more. 3 days passed after the hunter ship was shut down. The skies over planet Tryon remained quiet, but something had changed. The air felt lighter. The fear that once sat in Nira's chest had begun to fade. She no longer woke up screaming at night. She no longer flinched at every noise. Tom noticed, said nothing, but he smiled more often. Darren kept checking the beacon signal. Still active, he told them. Someone out there will hear it. Someone good? Nira asked. Daron nodded. Yes, the kind who help. On the 4th day, a new sound filled the air. A soft hum. Tom grabbed his scope and climbed the ridge. Nira and Daron followed. Above them, in the blue-gray sky, a ship appeared. But this one looked different. It was silver, smooth, clean. It moved. With grace, not with force. Tom lowered the scope. Not a hunter's ship. The ship came closer and hovered above a flat part of the valley. Slowly. It landed without dust or noise. A light blinked near its side door. Then it opened. Out stepped 3 figures. One was human, a woman in a blue uniform. The other 2 were Alina, tall, green-skinned man, and a short creature with many eyes. In a kind face, they raised their hands. No weapons. Tom, Nira, and Darren walked slowly toward them. The woman spoke first. I'm Captain Lena of the Peace Alliance. We received your signal. Tom nodded. I'm Tom. This is Nira. And Daron. Lena looked at Nira gently. We've heard of your people. Many have been lost. Few escaped. Nira's voice was quiet but strong. We escaped. Together. Lena looked at Daron. You sent the ship code? I did, he said. I used to work for them, but not anymore. The green-skinned alien stepped forward. The code you sent helped us trace the Hunter network. We shut down their signal stations on 3 moons. Nira's eyes widened. Others might be free now. Yes, said the alien kindly. Many. They sat together on the rocks near the ridge. The Peace Alliance officers asked questions. Tom told them everything, how he found Nira, how she had been abandoned, how they had fought back. You risked your life, Lena said. Tom nodded. I couldn't leave her. She was alone, afraid. Nira looked at him. Not anymore. Lena looked at Nira gently. Do you wish to return to your people? We've rescued a few of your kind. They're safe on another world. Nira thought for a long moment. Then she looked at Tom. I want to stay with him. He's my family now. Tom smiled, not saying a word. Lena nodded. Then you can stay. We'll make sure you're both protected. That night, the Peace Alliance officers camped with them. They shared warm food and clean water. Nira sat beside one of the small aliens. Listening to stories of stars and safe planets, you would love our forests, the alien told her. They sing at night. I've never seen a forest. Nira said softly. Someday, Tom said, we'll go. She looked at him with bright eyes. Promise? He smiled. Promise. The next morning, the officers prepared to leave. Captain Lena walked up to Tom and handed him a small silver card. This will link you to our network. She said, if you ever need help, call. We'll come. Tom took the card and nodded. Thank you. She looked at Nira. You're very brave. Nira stood tall. I'm learning from the best. As the silver ship lifted off, Nira watched it until it disappeared into the clouds. Then she turned to Tom. What now? Tom looked over the hills. Now we build something new. A home. Here. Nodded. Here or somewhere close. Safe. With tools, light, and maybe a garden. She smiled. I like that. Darren walked over. I'll help if you'll have me. Tom put a hand on his shoulder. You've earned that. Over the next week, they worked hard. They found a spot near a clean water spring. They built walls from old metal, fixed solar panels, and set up a small power station. Nira painted symbols on the wall, stars, circles, and a picture of three people standing together, one tall, one small, one in between. Tom saw the painting and asked, "Who's that in the middle?" Nira grinned. "That's me." Between two who never gave up. Every evening, they sat on the roof and looked at the sky. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they didn't need words at all. The stars were bright now, and for the first time in her life, Nira didn't feel lost. She felt home. The sun rose slowly over the valley of Tryon. Nira opened her eyes and stepped outside the shelter. The wind was soft, and the trees swayed gently. A bird-like creature flew past her head, chirping in a strange but beautiful sound. She smiled. It had been 2 months since the Peace Alliance visited. In that time, their little home had become something real. Not just metal walls, but a place of laughter, food, work, and peace. Tom came outside carrying 2 cups of warm root tea. He handed one to Nira. "Morning," he said. She nodded. "It's quiet today." "I like quiet." She took a sip and watched the sky. "Do you think the hunters will come back?" Tom shook his head. "Not likely. The Alliance is hunting them now." Nira thought for a moment. "If they ever come, I'll fight." Tom smiled. "I know." Later that day, they walked down to the spring. Duran was already there, adjusting a water filter. His sleeves were rolled up and grease covered his hands. "This new pump is working great," he said. "We'll have enough clean water for months."
Good
work, Tom said. "How's the radio? Still no signals? It's just stars and silence." "That's not always a bad thing," Tom replied. Darren nodded. "You're right. Silence can mean peace." That night, Nira stood on the roof of their sheltered. She had painted the top with glowing paint, small stars, planets, moons, and a single silver line. The line connected everything. She called it the thread. Tom joined her. He looked at the roof, then up at the real sky. "You've got them almost perfect," he said. Nira smiled. "I remember. Used to lie in a cage and stare up at the sky through cracks. I promised myself I'd learn their names." Tom asked. "Yes. That one is Ilnar. That's Triva. That's the hunter's moon. And that," she pointed, "is my mother's star." Tom looked at her. "Tell me about her." Nira sat down. Her voice was soft but steady. She had silver eyes like mine. She sang to me in the dark. The night they took her, she told me to remember the stars, because stars never lie. They always shine, even when no one sees them. Tom sat beside her. "She would be proud of you." Nira leaned her head on his shoulder. "You think so?" "I know so." A few days later, a ship appeared, again but smaller than the last one. It landed gently. A single figure stepped out, an alien girl with purple skin and 3 small horns. On her forehead, she looked scared and tired. Tom, Nira, and Duran walked up to her slowly. "Are you hurt?" Tom asked. The girl shook her head. "I escaped from them, the hunters." Nira stepped forward. "You're safe now." The girl looked at Nira's eyes and whispered, "You're like me." Nira said softly, "I was alone too." Nira took her hand and led her toward the shelter. Tom smiled. Another life saved. Another hope returned. In the weeks that followed, more came. A small family of green-skinned aliens. A pair of twin boys with soft fur and long ears. Silent man. With glowing hands, each one had a story. Each one had suffered. But now, each one had a place. The shelter became a village. They called it New Light. Nira became the heart of it. She showed the children how to paint stars. She taught them how to speak softly but stand strong. She told them, being different doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're special. Tom built extra homes. Duran fixed old machines into tools and toys. The spring flowed with clear water. The air smelled like wildflowers. Every night, they looked at the sky. And every night, the stars looked back. One night, the Peace Alliance returned. Captain Lena stepped out and looked around the village. Her eyes widened with surprise. "You built all this?" Tom nodded. We had help. Lena smiled. We brought supplies, food, medicine, learning kits. The children rushed forward to see the visitors. Lena knelt down beside one and whispered, "Do you know who started this?" "Village." The child pointed to Nira. "She saved us." Lena stood up and looked at Nira. "Would you come with us to the Star Council? Tell them your story?" Nira paused. She looked at the children, at the sky, then at Tom. He gave a small nod. "You should go. I need to hear the truth." "I'll come back," she asked. Tom grinned. "We'll be waiting at the council." Nira stood before beings from across the stars. She told them about cages and pain. She told them about Tom, the human who didn't run away. She told them about courage, kindness, and new light. When she finished, no one spoke. Then they all stood and clapped. Nira returned to Trine weeks later. The children ran to greet her. Tom stood beside the garden, waiting. She ran into his arms. "I told them everything," she said. "And now, the Alliance has promised to protect all lost ones. No more cages." Tom looked at her. "You changed the stars." Era looked up. "No," she said. "The stars were always good. We just had to remind them." That night, a new star appeared in the sky, not bright, but steady. And beside it, on the roof of the shelter, Amira painted a small glowing symbol, a silver thread, connecting hearts across the stars forever.